Whenever I stream or watch a stream, I want it to be as interactive as possible. And a fun way to add some interactivity is with a magic 8-ball. Whether you're using it as a channel points reward or just as sort of a whenever thing, your viewers can ask all sorts of fun questions like, is Chris gonna lose this game? Is Chris secretly a murderer? Will Chris die alone? But the problem is that your viewers just have to take your word for the answers because of how gravity works. If you try to show it to the camera, the dice floats to the top. So I made my own custom 8-ball widget to use on stream using a little bit of Blender and a lot of JavaScript. It looks something like this. And the cool thing here is that you can easily add as many custom responses as you want by modifying a simple text document. All you have to do is download the files from the Discord, link in the description, and follow along. And if you like these kinds of fun widgets, the absolute best way to say thanks is to share it with your friends and hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for more cool stuff in the future. Also, let me know what you think in the comments down below. This has been a really fun introduction to JavaScript for me, and I definitely want to make more of this kind of thing going forward. Also, if you want to customize the 8-ball animation with your own logo and colors, I'll throw the Blender file up on Patreon, link in the description, and cover how to make those changes later in this video. All of that being said, let's get started. My name is Chris Folea, I'm your stream scholar. Welcome to Stream School. First things first, let's talk about how to bring this into OBS for those of you that just want to download it and use it as is without making any sort of additional changes. So when you download it from this Discord, you're going to get a zip file titled Oracle 8-ball widget.zip, and you're going to want to put this somewhere on your hard drive where you can easily access it from OBS. Once there, we're going to need to extract this, so I'm going to go ahead and right click, go to extract all. That'll bring up this Windows extract dialog box, and here under the file path you can go ahead and erase the Oracle 8-ball widget text. If you leave that there, you're going to get an entire extra layer of folders, and that's honestly just kind of annoying. So here I'm going to go ahead and click extract, and that'll give us an Oracle 8-ball widget folder right next to our Oracle 8-ball widget.zip. At this point, if you really want to, you can go ahead and delete the Oracle 8-ball widget.zip file. So here I'm going to double click to go into the Oracle 8-ball widget folder. And here you'll notice I have an 8-ball page.html. That's the web page that we're going to bring into OBS as a browser source. Then we have a fortunes.js, which is really just a text document that lists out all of the different responses the 8-ball can have, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. Then under the assets folder, we have the graphics that are necessary for it to work and a couple scripts that make the entire thing work. Just make sure that these stay in the exact same location relative to the 8-ball page.html so it knows where to find them. So to actually bring this into OBS, we can hop over to OBS right here. We can go down to the little plus button to add a new source. And here we're going to want to add a browser source. You can call this whatever you want. I'm going to call mine 8-ball. Then I'm going to click OK, and that'll bring up the default OBS HTML page. Under this dialog, you're going to want to click the local file checkbox. That'll let us grab a web page from our hard drive rather than from the internet. Here, I'm going to click browse, and you're going to want to find wherever you stored your 8-ball page.html. I'm going to double click on it to bring it in. Then we need to change a couple more things before we're ready to go. The first one is we need to set the width to 1080. Then we need to set the height also to 1080 to make a perfectly square web page source. Then at the very bottom here, you might have to scroll down. You also want to make sure shutdown source when not visible is checked. And you want to make sure refresh browser when scene becomes active is also checked. These two are really important. These make it so when you hide and unhide the source, the 8-ball animation will play over again, and you can just unhide it and hide it and unhide it as many times as you want to use the 8-ball as many times as you want. So after all of these settings look the same as mine, you can go ahead and click OK, and that'll bring in the 8-ball animation. It'll start playing, and here you can scale it, you can move it around and do whatever you want with it. It'll show a random 8-ball response, no way in hell. Then it'll animate out. So to reuse this, you can hide the source, then unhide it again, and it'll play through, and this time it'll choose a different response. But to me personally, hiding and unhiding this while you're streaming in OBS can be a little bit tedious. So personally, I like to use an Elgato Stream Deck for that. So to set this up with the Stream Deck, I'm going to go ahead and hide the source, and I'm going to bring up the Elgato Stream Deck software. So under the Stream Deck software, I'm going to go ahead and make a new multi-action that's under the Stream Deck category. So I'm going to click multi-action, drag that over to a new button, and as soon as I release my mouse, it's going to bring us into that multi-action. So under the multi-action, we're going to want to add an OBS Studio source. I'm just going to drag that to the list. And here, just make sure you have the right source under the right scene selected. This is all pretty self-explanatory. And then finally, in the upper right-hand corner, you want to make sure this is set to activate, so it will turn on the 8-ball source. But this, I'm going to call 8-ball activate. It's always good to name things because right now I know what this does, but if I come back to this 3 weeks later and take a look at it, it's nice to have a little reminder. So then we want to delay for a certain amount of time. You can find the delay function under the Stream Deck dropdown. So I'm going to click that, drag it over, and the magic number here is going to be 13,500 milliseconds. Then finally, we're going to want to add another source at the very end here. It's going to be the exact same 8-ball source, but instead of activating it, now we want to deactivate it. And I'm going to call this 8-ball deactivate. Again, the naming isn't 100% necessary. It's just nice so you can figure out what you were doing later. So now if we run through this logically, we can see it's going to activate our 8-ball source. It's going to wait 13,500 or 13 milliseconds or 13.5 seconds. Then it's going to deactivate it or hide the source. So in action, if I go over to OBS and I click the button, it'll unhide the source. It'll play through it. We'll get a random response from our list. Outlook good. Hell yeah. Then it's going to animate away, and if you pay attention to the little eyeball down here, you're going to notice that it's automatically going to hide when it's done playing, which is perfect and extremely convenient. Then we can do the exact same thing over again as many times as we want. Now for the fun part. Let's say you want to add your own custom responses to your 8-ball widget. Well, that's also pretty easy to do. For that, we're going to want to modify the fortunes.js JavaScript file. And for that, you can use pretty much any basic text editor you want, but I'm pretty sure almost everyone is going to have access to Microsoft Windows Notepad, so we're going to use that for the sake of this tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and right-click fortunes.js, go to Open With, and here I'm going to select Notepad. But if this isn't an option for you, you can also open Notepad the old-fashioned way by clicking the Windows key on your keyboard, typing Notepad, and it should be the very first item on the list. So here I'm going to click on Notepad, go to File, Open, and here you're going to notice that it's not showing either my 8ballpage.html or fortunes.js. This is not a reason to panic. By default, Microsoft Windows Notepad only shows .txt or text documents. So to fix that, we can click this drop down right here, go to All Files, and here we have our 8ballpage.html and our fortunes.js. I'm going to select fortunes.js, click Open, and here we have it, our beautiful list of 8-ball responses. And I know this is a JavaScript document, and that sounds really scary and intimidating, but really all this is a JavaScript array, or if you want to think about it in simple terms, it's like a list. It's titled Fortunes, and then it's all of these different potential options. So then, in the 8ballpage.html, I wrote a script that looks for a list named Fortunes. It randomly chooses an item from it, regardless of how long or short the list is, and it uses that choice on the 8-ball. So to change this, all you have to keep in mind is that you want to keep the formatting the same. And by that, I mean, it starts with a square bracket, it ends with a square bracket and semicolon, then every single item on the list is in quotes, and it's separated by a comma. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see better. So there's the quoted item, there's the comma, and you'll notice it's like that on every single line except the last one doesn't need the comma. So let's say you want to add your own custom response to this now. That's really easy to do. I can just select after one of the commas, I can hit enter on my keyboard, hit tab to tab over just to make it look nice and clean. I can type a quote, and here I'm gonna say, Chris is amazing. I'm gonna add an end quote, and here I'm gonna add a comma. Then if I hit file save, I now have an updated list that my 8-ball widget can pull from. But let's say you want a really decisive 8-ball with only one option to choose from. Well, you can get pretty creative with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and select everything except for the first quote item. I'm even gonna get rid of the comma. And here, I'm gonna type in something crazy. And you can get pretty creative with this. The longest one I've tested is, my name is Nicolas Cage, and I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. So now if I hit file save, go back to OBS, click the little button, it'll pop up, it'll reveal our message, and you'll notice it's a pretty interesting one. I wouldn't recommend going much longer than this though. So now let's say we want to add a second response to this. So first I'm gonna change the first response to something else just so we notice that the text document's opening. So I'm gonna say, this is the first. Then I'm going to add a comma. I'm going to add a new line, tab over, add some quotes, and I'm gonna say, this is the second. Add some more quotes, and notice, literally all I have to do is just make sure the formatting stays consistent. Brackets, items in quotes, separated by commas. I'm gonna hit Control S to save, pop back over to OBS, play it through, and here you'll notice we get one of the two options. We got the second one. Wow, we had a 50-50 shot. That's pretty cool. So just like that, it is that easy to modify the text document. If any of this was scary or confusing or intimidating to you, please don't hesitate to hop into the questions and help section on the Discord, link in the description, and I will be more than happy to help you out. So now, let's say you're a patron, you downloaded the Blender file from Patreon, and you want to add your own logo and own custom colors to this 8-ball widget. So that's a little bit trickier, but in my opinion, it's totally worth it, so let's go through it. So when you first open the Blender file, the absolute very first thing you want to do is come up here to the upper left and click on the shiny circle button. That's gonna put this viewport into rendered preview mode so you can actually see what it looks like as you're working on it. So the first thing we probably want to do here is replace your logo here with your logo. So to do that, you're gonna come over here to the right where it says logo. You're gonna click on it. Notice how it's highlighted in orange now, that means it's selected. Then you're gonna come down to the materials panel, and you might have to scroll down here some, but you want to find where it says your logo here.png. You're gonna click the X next to it, then you're gonna click open, and here you want to find your logo. Now for this step, you're gonna need to create a solid black and white version of your logo. Look at my two examples here, the Stream Scholar and the fish logo. Notice how most of the image is white, and then our logo makes up the black negative space. That'll create that nice classic Magic 8-ball look. So again, you can look at these two examples, or if you want some tips and tricks on that, you can hop over and ask me on Discord as well. But anyway, I'm gonna select the Stream Scholar logo. I'm gonna hit open image, and that'll come in just like that. You'll notice mine already fits pretty well, but if you want to change the scale of it, I did add an easy control for that. So you can select this little circle right here that has the cross going through it. You can move your mouse out a little bit, hit S on your keyboard for scale, and now if you move your mouse in and out, that'll scale this little sphere up and down, which will coincidentally scale the logo up and down. So I'm gonna leave mine somewhere right around here, and for that I'm going to left click on my mouse to set that in place. Then the next thing we want to do is probably change this glow color around the 8-ball. So my channel colors are sort of like pink and purple. So to change this, I'm gonna come over here to the right, click on glow color, make sure I'm on the materials panel again. Then here, I'm gonna change the color to a nice pinkish purple. Side note here, if you don't want the animated glow on your 8-ball, you can also get rid of it by changing this color to solid black, and then it'll just completely go away. I personally want this glow here, so I'm gonna make mine a nice pinkish purple. So the next option here is the reflection color, and that is the environment that the 8-ball is in. So you notice that the 8-ball has some nice reflections on the sides of it. That just makes it look like it's a nice shiny black plastic like a normal Magic 8-ball would be. So we can also change the color of that. So I'm going to click on the reflection color text, make sure I'm in the materials panel, and here I'm going to change mine to a little bit more of a pink like so. You can make this whatever color you want. The green actually looks kind of cool too, but I'm going to make mine a nice pinkish purple to match the glow around it. So the next two options are to change the plastic color. Plastic color 1 is going to change the black areas. I would personally recommend not changing these unless you really want to, because I really like the classic look of the Magic 8-ball as a black and white thing. But just know that the option is here if you really want to make this a different color. I'm personally going to leave mine as black. Then plastic color 2 changes the white areas, which is exactly the same as the black one, but opposite, I guess. And again, I'm personally going to leave mine as white. Just know that that option is there if you really do want to change it. So after you have this customized and looking exactly the way you want, the next step is going to be to export the transparent WebM animated video file. So for that, we're going to go up here to the printer icon. I'm going to click on it. And I already have all of these settings set up exactly how they need to be to output a transparent WebM video file. All you have to do is select this folder right here, the little folder icon, and you're going to want to find a place on your hard drive to put this WebM file. And this needs to be named something very specific. When you download the template, the correct name should already be in there. Hopefully I can get that working. But if not, I'm going to flash the text up on screen what the name needs to be. It needs to be 8-ball with a capital B animation .webm. The reason this name needs to be exact is because we're going to replace the WebM file in the assets folder of the 8-ball widget when we're done with this. So then I'm going to hit accept. And really important to note here is that this file, the WebM, does not exist yet. This folder is just telling Blender where to save the WebM when you tell it to render. Rendering is a much lengthier process than this. But to do it, all we have to do is go up to the upper left where it says render, click on it, and click render animation. That'll pop up this window right here, and then it will painstakingly slowly start to play through the entire animation. And what that's doing is it is creating each individual image or frame of the animation. And that WebM file will not exist in completion on your hard drive until this has completely played through the entire animation, generating every single individual frame or image of the video file. Now, I'm not going to sit here and make you watch and wait for this. I already previously rendered one out, but just know that this will take a while, and it might be a good opportunity to go grab a glass of water or go grab a snack or something. Anyway, I'm going to exit out of this. This might take a second here. And then we're going to move on to step 2 of the customization, which is the text backdrop. So wait for this to finish canceling out, escape out of that. And I'm going to go up here to the upper right-hand corner of Blender where we have our collections, and I'm going to uncheck the 8-ball animation, and I'm going to check the text background. So the reason we have to do this is because on the HTML page, the entire animation and widget is made up of 3 layers. We have this background that the text appears on. We have the text itself, which animates on using JavaScript, and then we have the 8-ball animation. The reason it's in 3 layers is because if the 8-ball animation accidentally overlays the text or something, I don't want the text to show up on the outside of the 8-ball. That would just look awkward and unprofessional. So anyway, to change this, all we have to do is select the text BG color here, go down to the materials panel, and I'm going to change mine to a nice purple or something, maybe something somewhere around there. Then I'm going to go to render image. Note here that we do not need to render out the entire animation for this. We just need one still image. So again, that is render image. That'll render out the still image, and then we go to image, save as on the window that pops up, and we're going to save this specifically as 8-ball BG .png. I'll flash the text bigger on the screen, but it's 8ball with a capital B and then capital B, capital G at the end, 8ballbg.png. I'm gonna save that image. And now that we have both of those assets rendered out, the WebM video file and the 8ballbg, let's go ahead and replace those on the widget. So to do that, I'm gonna bring up 2 copies of my Windows Explorer. You don't necessarily need to, that's just the easiest way for me to illustrate this. But here we have our new assets, and over here we have our Oracle 8ball widget folder. So on this, I'm going to go to the assets folder. Then I'm going to select both of my new things, the WebM and the PNG, right click, copy, then under the assets folder over here, I'm going to right click, paste, and when it asks you if you want to replace these files, the answer is yes. So once those are replaced, once they've copied over to the 8ball widget assets folder, we can hop back over to OBS. I can hit the little 8ball button on my Stream Deck, it'll pop up, and now you'll notice it's using my Stream Scholar logo and the nice purple haze and the purple background. Is this cool? It is certain. So that's pretty much all there is to customizing it. I'm gonna let that play through one more time just because I think that's really cool. If you all have any questions on how to do any of this on Discord or anything, for you patrons that do have access to the Blender file, just hit me up on Discord. I'm always happy to help. I'm looking forward to seeing what you all come up with this. And that's all there is to it. Hopefully at this point, you have a cool 8ball widget to use on your stream with your own custom responses. If you like these kinds of free widgets, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell to stay tuned for more. Now, I'm currently on an indefinite break from streaming, but if you want to catch me the next time I do go live, or just keep up with me in general, make sure you go subscribe to youtube.com/oraclefish as well. Anyway, until next time, my name is Chris Folea, I'm your Stream Scholar, and class is out.